Why most people never find their purpose. Let me tell you something I wish someone had told me earlier. Most people don't fail to find their purpose because they are lost. They fail because they are doing exactly what makes sense inside the wrong system. And that's why purpose feels invisible. Not confusing, not mysterious, invisible. Today, I want to show you the system that keeps purpose hidden and why once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you've ever asked yourself questions like, why does everyone else seem to know what they are doing? Why do I feel capable but directionless? Why does clarity never arrive no matter how much I think? There's nothing wrong with you. In fact, your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's just running a loop that rewards familiarity, not discovery. And purpose doesn't live where familiarity does. Here's the idea that changed how I understand purpose. Your life isn't random. It's patterned. And that pattern runs on what I call the ESR loop. ESR stands for evidence, story, reality. But that's only the visible part. Underneath it, there's something even more important: identity. So the full loop actually looks like this: identity, action, evidence, interpretation, story, and reality. And this loop is always running, whether you're aware of it or not. Let's slow this down and make it real. At some point in your life, you picked up an identity. Maybe you were the smart one, or the responsible one, or maybe the creative one, or maybe the one who plays it safe. Most of these identities weren't chosen. They were assigned by school, by family, by early success, by early failure. And once an identity is installed, it quietly starts steering your behavior, not aggressively, rather subtly. Here's the part people miss. You don't take action based on what you want. You take action based on who you believe you are. So, if you don't see yourself as entrepreneurial, you don't experiment. And if you don't see yourself as disciplined, you don't commit. If you don't see yourself as someone with purpose, you wait. Not because you are scared, but because those actions don't feel like you. So you choose the actions that fit your identity, and those actions start producing evidence. Now, here's where the loop tightens. You look at your life and say things like, I've been in the same place for years, I haven't made progress, or I still feel unclear. That's real evidence. But evidence by itself doesn't mean anything. It only becomes dangerous when it is interpreted. And interpretation is never neutral. Remember that. It is never neutral. And this is the quiet killer of purpose. You look at the evidence and say things like, see, I don't have direction, or like, I'm not consistent, or I'm just not built for more. But you notice something? The evidence didn't say that. You did. The evidence only showed what happened inside a system that never allowed real exploration in the first place. But once that interpretation sticks, it becomes a story. And this is the part that feels final. The story sounds logical, it sounds mature, and it sounds realistic. Like you say things like, I've tried, or I know myself. That's the very popular one people say, I know myself. And things like, at some point, you just have to accept reality. But here's the truth: that story was written after the loop was already rigged. And once the story is in place, it shapes your reality. So you stop testing, you stop exploring, and you stop creating new evidence. So the loop keeps confirming itself. This is why purpose never appears at the thinking stage. Purpose doesn't arrive through introspection. It arrives through evidence accumulation. So you don't find purpose. You notice it after you've generated enough evidence that a pattern starts to emerge. And that only happens when the loop changes. There are only two real ways to interrupt the ESR loop. The first is interpretation. That's learning to question the story. But awareness alone is fragile. The real break happens at action. One small action that doesn't fit your current identity creates evidence that your old story cannot explain away. And that single crack is how identity updates, not dramatically, incrementally. And that's how purpose is produced. So here's the takeaway: you're not failing to find your purpose. You're running a loop that was never designed to reveal it. You're already in an ESR loop. The only question is whether it's running by default or by design. If you want to know exactly which loop you're in right now, I built a diagnostic for it. It's called the identity audit. It shows you where you are, why you are stuck, and the most important next action to start changing the loop. The link is in the description of this video. You don't need a breakthrough. You need a better system. Welcome to the lab.